since its promulgation in 2018 to now when it will be dissolving. The Fifth Parliament has passed several acts, agreements and treaties, but how effective was the Fifth Parliament in terms of oversight, especially when the leader of government business in 2020 was warning committee chairs to present their reports? Does that mean committees hardly present oversight reports? Well, this morning to discuss this, we have Honorable Ibrahim Tawa Conte from the Sierra Leone People's Party and Honorable Musa Fofana from the C4C. Definitely we're expecting to be joined by Honorable Abdul Karim Kamala from the APC. They're here to answer these questions as we assess the 5 years of the Fifth Parliament. Welcome, gentlemen. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Certainly, it's been a long ride, 5 years. First of all, let's start with your experiences. Let me start with you, Honorable Tawa. 5 years. Are you pleased with what you have been doing personally in terms of the general aspect? Personally, are you okay? Are you pleased with what you have been doing?
I feel satisfied. I feel like I have lived up to the expectation of myself and my people. I feel I am among a number of 132 members of parliament who assumed responsibility and subscribed the oath as provided in the third schedule of defending and protecting the Constitution of Sierra Leone and of upholding the dictates of transparency, accountability, and good governance. I think in terms of what my constituents would feel about my leadership in the last 5 years, it would be a glowing 100% because I will tell you, in the last 5 years, I have been that MP that has expressed the roles, responsibilities as stated in the Constitution, even beyond what the Constitution did not delineate. So for me, I feel what I have done personally as a person in my constituency is setting the standards high, raising the bar, and in Parliament, in terms of the three sacred functions given to members of Parliament, I think I have represented my constituents well. I think I've been able to speak their minds, have been able to express their views and their thoughts in Parliament, and I've been able to stand in between the lines of partisanship and nationalism. I've been able to stand up to my party. I've been able to talk about issues that nobody has ever dared talk about in the past. I've talked about, I've been a member of Parliament. I've asked Parliament for the first time since the start of the Second Republic in 1996 to the Fifth Parliament, from the first Parliament to the Fifth. I've been the only member of Parliament I've asked from the government bench, asked for a debate of the Auditor General's report. That is unheard of. So it shows that what I've done in Parliament in the last 5 years, in terms of lawmaking, in terms of representation, in terms of oversight, as the shortest serving chairman of the Committee on Transparency and Accountability, I introduced a very new concept and a very new oversight methodology in Parliament. Okay. I gave the public a clear view of what we are doing. My oversight committee sitting at Transparency and Accountability Committee were viewed live by everybody as it was proceeding. So in doing all of that, I think I have done a lot to make me satisfied and feel that, yes, I've represented my people. Yes,
over to you. You know, in terms of self-assessment, how do you feel 5 years down the line?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of course, the challenge is a well-appreciated one, looking at my background, because I came from the NGO world, and of course, I was also a business person after leaving the NGO world for 10 years. And when our party was considering how we can organize and come up with a party from the Kono district angle, even though a national one, I was chosen by my community to represent them when they even aware that I'm not a politician. They said, yes, we will support you for you to be our new member of parliament. Well, for my background, I have learned so fast. And in my 2 years in parliament, I was fortunate to be the chairman for local government committee. And we achieved a lot because a lot of new innovations were brought in the committee, where we worked with the ministry, with the councils, and the donor partners and the PMUs around EU, we were fortunate to secure a huge fund for 4 councils, something like 25 million euros. And I served for 1 year, and after that I was taken to Economic Development Planning Committee as chairman, where I have served for almost 3 years. And I must say, for an opposition MP to champion government national development plan, you know, which has to also do with international documents like the Sustainable Development Goals, the AU Agenda 2063, for 3 years as an opposition MP is a huge challenge, but also under the kind of leadership we have, you know, Honorable Sayama Silamina, I think we have delivered so well in Parliament around debates, yes, and each and every bill that has been passed in that well, which we have contributed to, we always align those bills to the National Medium-Term Plan, because this is our national document, and it's only through this national document they can also align us to the international documents that we are talking about, treaties, you know, so that at least as a country we can have a data around what we have achieved so far, and I mean the challenges we have, so we can at least think about the future.
Yeah, gentlemen, we have been joined by Abdul Karim Kamala from the APC. Before you walked in, we have been speaking on self-assessment 5 years down the line. Do you feel satisfied with what you have been doing? Are you pleased?
Thank you very much. For me, I may have different opinions from our colleagues there as members of Parliament. It's a 5 years in Parliament of new discovery in the world of Parliament and in the administration of Parliament in general. Yes, we've made good laws. Yes, we've had challenging moments, but there are certain things that underpin our progress as a Parliament, and some of these things we don't want to repeat in the 6th Parliament. And there are certain developments, some abrogation of laws within Parliament that were very, very bad for our democratic dispensation and for the smooth running of Parliament. I'll give you a critical one. And in the 5th Parliament, one of the things that was done was the suspension of the standing orders and the changing of the name from majority to and minority to something different that was against the rules. In the standing order of Parliament, which is our guiding rules, to change, you don't suspend the standing the SOs for a whole year. You suspend the SOs for a particular day. That is why always you hear the deputy whip will come up and say we will suspend SO5 too. So the business of the day will continue. But in this Parliament, we have a situation wherein a whole part of the SOs was suspended, the names were changed, without having the Standing Order Committee. It is the Standing Order Committee that is charged with the responsibility to bring up issues that should be amended before they are tabled into the world of Parliament. But in this dispensation, we saw situations wherein it was just cancelled and they did what they wanted. And again, one of the things well, I don't want to say I regret being a member of Parliament in this 5th Parliament. One of the things I did not like is the continuous situation in which the Speaker will come to the world and he promised certain things to be presented and they are not presented. One of the things that was so bad is for 5 good years, the Speaker continuously promised the people of Sierra Leone that will debate the audit service report, which is basically the demands of the people. And for 5 good years, this Parliament could not even debate one audit service report. Don't tell me it was not done in other parliaments. In this Parliament, the Speaker promised us. Motion over motion, the Speaker continuously tells us we are going to have the audit service report. Another thing that was missing in this Parliament is our oversight reports were never presented to the world for debate. They were meant for the shelves, and they did not promulgate, push the formation of new laws. That was also bad in this Parliament. Another thing in this very Parliament, again, I'll highlight is the fact that the voice of opposition in calling ministers, the executive, to account was also reduced to the minimum 0. I remember Honorable Tawa will be our witness, and Honorable Fofana in the world. We've called for the Ministry of Finance to come even before the COVID to tell us what was the readiness of our government in addressing the economic challenges that we are going to come. We've called them to come on the issue of the new currency that was going to be brought into use at the time, to tell us, first of all, what was the cost of the production, what are the plans for withdrawal of the old loans and everything. We spent almost 6 to 7 months before the bank governor was called into. The people who called him, he was called to come and give us accounts as members of parliament. Rather, when he finally came to parliament, he was sent to the committee. One of the challenges, again, we had in this parliament is most of the oversight committees were not effective at all. At the first 2 years, Honorable Tawa could be a witness, even funds that were meant to be disbursed to oversight committees were very much, they were delayed. They had to pick and choose which committees to have resources, which one is not to have resources. We had a situation in which the opposition for one whole session of parliament were debarred from being members of committees and heading committees.
Honorable, that is actually what we're coming to discuss, the issue of, you know, oversight function. And I just want to get it clear. Zulai asked whether you're satisfied being a member of parliament these 5 years. Are you satisfied? Do you feel fulfilled, as Honorable Tawa and Honorable Fofana have said here?
Looking at the things I have highlighted, I'll tell you, for what I have done for my people, I am satisfied that I have done well for my people. But for national services, and for the things I was expecting to have done as a member of parliament, I am very much dissatisfied.
Okay.
Parliament did not create the enabling environment for us as members of parliament to freely express our views. I have been one MP, and almost every day I debate, I am expected to go under serious attack.
Okay.
You're not giving the leverage to express the views of the people.
We'll come back to you to continue the conversation. But let's me come over to Honorable Tawa again. The issue about, you know, oversight function, which is one of your responsibilities as members of parliament. Earlier when you started, you spoke about how, you know, you did it when you were chair of one of the committees, and even some of your meetings were broadcast live on TV as well. In your own estimation, do you think this parliament, this 5th parliament, have done enough, you know, in your responsibility of oversight in the country?
Can I first of all start by making some few clarifications? The allocations of committee in parliament is purely in line with the principle stated in the standing order and in the constitution. It has to be on the strength of the political party. And looking at the current parliamentary setup, you realize that the two dominant parties are APC and SLPP. Hence, most of the committees, critical committees, are either headed by the APC or the SLPP. Take, for example, President Bio had 2 critical visions, in fact 3, but 2 major. One was to roll out fee-based educational system and enhance quality and introduce new other facilities into the educational system. Second was to diversify the economy. And in the economic diversification process, you realize that 3 ministries are critical: agriculture, fisheries and marine resources, and tourism. And in these 3 ministries, 2 are headed by the opposition. In parliament, the oversight committee, the committee on tourism, the chairman and deputy is from the APC. The committee on agriculture, the chairman and deputy is from the APC. The committee on foreign affairs, the chairman and deputy is from the APC. The committee on labor and social security, the chairman and deputy is from the APC. The committee on gender, the chairman and deputy is from the APC. The committee on water resources, the chairman and deputy is from the APC. The committee on youth affairs, the chairman and deputy is from the APC. There are other committees. There are about 9 committees that the APC lead in parliament. So the effectiveness of oversight, especially parliamentary oversight, hinges purely on the availability of resources. Yes, there are other oversight tools that do not require money. For example, when I was summoning ministries, departments, and agencies to parliament, you don't require money to do that. I did not pay AYV to cover the proceedings. It was out of national interest and out of the cost of national understanding that yes, everybody should understand what is happening in Parliament. Transparency should be rolled out to everybody, and you gave me the coverage. So that does not require money. But if you look at most of the critical acts or activities in Parliament, you realize that for you to be able to corroborate what you see in the report of the MDs, you would also have to move from Parliament to the field. For example, the Committee on Mines that is headed by the honorable leader of the C4C, there's no way you will perform oversight activities on mining companies in Freetown. You would have to go. So between 2018 and 2020, what Parliament would receive as oversight budgets cannot finance the activity of all the oversight committees. So what they will do is they will set up a priority scale in the leadership meeting, in their leadership meeting. And leadership of Parliament is a very easy makeup, opposition and government. So they will determine that, okay, from APC, you would give 3 committees that would go on oversight, outside oversight. SNPP, you will give 3. C4C, you will give 1. Yeah? So those committees that will be selected as per their leadership would be allocated funds. The funds that will be allocated as at the time was 40 million. There are 16
committee.
So each committee, there are 16 members in a committee. And that 40 million should cover their hotel, should cover their feeding, should cover their mobility, save for the bus and the fuel that Parliament would allocate to them. So that's 40 million. If you divide 40 million by 16 members, it is 2,500,000 per member. I'm sure all of us have gone to the provinces. There is not a hotel or guest house in the provinces that you pay less than 400,000 per night. And we are talking about members of Parliament. It's not as if we want to amplify the position, but you cannot take a whole member of Parliament, take him to the least hotel or motel in the provinces, because you have to take care of the security of the MP and all. So the effectiveness of parliamentary oversight hinges on finances. That is one. Number 2, when these committees go on oversight, like he has said, for all these committees that I've called, I will tell you, and he can attest to it, not once have there been any report from the Committee on Youth, not once have there been any report from the Committee on Labour, not once have there been any committee.
And these are committees that received the 40 million you're talking about?
These are committees that have gone on oversight. These are some committees that have gone on oversight. Yes, there have been reports from other committees, information, from mines, from transport. But if you look at core committees, Labour is so critical to the sustainability of a country. There are a whole lot of labour issues across this country. And if you don't get reports from Labour Committee, for example, what can Parliament do? The mistake of the leadership is this. The standing order says that you should not announce a committee until a report is presented. Yes, there was a time when committees were about to announce. I moved a motion and he seconded that motion, that this committee should not be announced until we receive the report. Okay, somebody was like, oh, the time was short, let us wait, so that at the time of the commencement of the next session, these committees would have presented their report. No report was presented. So in terms of parliamentary activity, yes, there are those parliamentary tools that you would use to perform oversight that you will not require money. But the greater portion of parliamentary oversight activity requires funds. In 2021, this current parliamentary administration pushed with the Ministry of Finance and they increased the oversight budget. So it means oversight budget has moved from 40 million to 60 million a committee. And even 60 million, if you divide 60 million by 16 people, this is 3,750,000. 3,750,000 for a member of parliament to go on oversight for 3-4 days in Matagelema, in Boedu. How can you perform an effective oversight? So we come back to the point we are in. Parliament is the hub for accountability.
But Honorable, as much as there's been, financial constraints, you keep mentioning about the amount, and now it's shared perhaps amongst members of parliament. But you have also mentioned that those who went on oversight have not presented reports.
And that is where parliament is at fault, because if you are a committee chairman, you've led a committee for a whole session. A whole session is like 1 year, and you are not able to present a report to the plenary, because let's not forget section 93 says the reports from committees are the basis that will inform legislation sometimes, not all the times, but principally the essence of performing oversight is to correct anomalies in some of the laws. I was the first chairman for the Committee on Environment. We ran the committee for 6 months. It is our oversight activities in the Committee on Environment that initiated the process of reviewing the repeal and replacement of the Environment Protection Agency Act, the National Protected Air Authority Act, the movement of all of these agencies under the Ministry of Environment. Because it was effective, we presented the report, and that report has informed those legislations. So for me, the mistake or the challenge with the allocation of committees is that a committee should not be allocated to someone who has led that committee and has failed to present a report. But it's not as if Parliament as a whole have not presented reports. And let me conclude on this. He spoke on the issue of debating the Auditor General's report. When I moved the motion for the debate of the Auditor General's report, not a single member of the opposition was gutted enough to say I second the motion. It was the Honorable Paramount Chief Baiku that seconded my motion. I pushed. I came to this studio. We sat here. I was calling all over the place. Oh, it was not easy for me within the parliamentary circle. But at the end of the day, what did they do? Nothing. Prior to this parliament, the leader of the current running mate of the APC, who was the deputy speaker of the fourth parliament, he was the chairman for the PAC. He has never asked for, and he's a lawyer, and he knows the constitution is the ground. He spoke about laws. He should have insisted as a lawyer, better known, better educated, understanding the dictates of the constitution, to say subsection 5 of section 119 require Parliament to debate the Auditor General report. There has never been a debate of the Auditor General's report since he, as a lawyer, a deputy speaker, someone that wants to be the vice president of this country, he was covering accountability. So let us be open and let us be transparent. Yes, there has been a challenge about the debate of the General's report. Like he said, it should not be continuous. It's a requirement in the constitution and we must enforce it. It doesn't matter who is there. But the precedent set by him is the precedent being followed, and he has also served for 5 years as the leader of the opposition, not for once as he has for the debate of the Auditor General's report. Okay,
let's move to Honorable Fofana. The Parliament of Sierra Leone 2021-2025 strategic plan clearly states how Parliament should strengthen oversight functions, the committees, and all of that. In your own estimation, these 5 years, you mentioned you came from the NGO world, the business community, before coming into politics. You think you've done enough? Because the strategic plan is saying oversight functions are very important to ensure that the executive arm of government is transparent and members of Parliament will be able to hold them accountable for monies that they are receiving from the states. Do you think you've been able to do oversight function properly as members of Parliament these 5 years?
Yeah, thank you very much. As you heard from my colleague, we are managing 2 committees. My leader was in charge of the Mines and Minerals Committee, and I must tell you that for the last 5 years, we have created huge impact in that committee, because we have one of the good laws, today, which is the Mines and Minerals Act of the Mines and Minerals Development Act. Under the leadership of that young man, I think we can boast of CDAP agreement today of 1% instead of 0.01%. And if Tonkolile, that has one of the huge deposit of iron ore, can benefit last year 500 billion, and just in 1 year they have 20 billion and more. I think that has demonstrated indeed that this Parliament, under that new act, a lot of goodies have happened. If you come to my committee, when I was the chairman for local government committee for 1 year, that was the time when government instituted this issue of general cleaning. We decided as Parliament that it's good for us to see how these monies have been spent. And we collaborated with the police, the army. I can assure you that we went to Kamala. Even, I would say the entire headquarters was involved in the cleaning. They were not like harassing anybody because Parliament was here. We discussed with the paramount chiefs. Everybody was, on the streets doing the general cleanings together, because we want to create that awareness for the value for money. We went to Bond Island. I mean the island, not the Bond Inland, the island. During that time, we went to Kailang, we went to other districts, Kono, Makeni, and just within 3 months, the entire ministry joined, our campaign. And we put together our report. The report was handed over because we want to capitalize on that report to see how best we can have a national cleaning that will be carried out willingly by Sierra Leoneans, meaning you don't need to pay, people to do their own national cleaning. And when I was chairman for economic development planning for the first 1 year, during the last government, EU through NAO gave this project for the Mabam Bridge, the Rogbere Bridge, the Moyamba Junction, Moyamba Town Road with 2 mega bridges, and also the Bo Gundama to Jendema Highway. When we took over, we discussed with Parliament leadership that some of these projects are not going well, and we want to know why. So leadership gave us their blessing. We sent a letter to EU through NAO. We sent a letter to the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development. We sent a letter to CSC, the construction company, that we want to know why these constructions have not yet completed. And they started something like 2 or 3 years ago. Well, for us, when they replied, the reply was not substantial enough because all the blame was around COVID-19. But ships were coming here with rice, with cement, with iron rod, so you can still bring your material to do the job. And Parliament provided the resources. So we talked to SLRA and the Ministry of Works. We came together. We did a 5 days oversight, a very strong one. We went to Rogbere Bridge, and after the meeting, we decided that we have given you 1 year, 6 months. As a country, we want to see this bridge be handed over in the next 1 year, 6 months. We went to Mabam Bridge, we did the same. We went to Moyamba Junction, Moyamba Town, we did the same. And we went up to Liberia. In fact, we crossed to Liberia. We discussed with the Liberian authorities that as Parliament and as a country, we want to see the Mano River Road being completed. All the support we need from you, don't accept our cement and our iron rod to go across the border. And in less than 2 years... So
it seems your own committee was actually working, right?
Well,
the Honorable Tawan's committee was working. Is it about leadership? Is it about the people who were leading the committees in Parliament? Or you were able to get funds other ways, to ensure that you go on oversight functions? Is it about that? Because he mentioned there are other committees who've gone out, they've not presented reports. There are other committees who could not go because they don't have funding.
Every year is the leadership responsibility to decide how many committees will go on oversight. Before the funding was increased, it was something like 10 committees that will go yearly. When I was in charge of local government, I benefited from that resources. And I laid a report for that particular oversight. We created a huge, impact. I was telling you about a fund we work with the EU to secure a 25 million euro fund. A 25 million euro fund for 4 councils: Bombali District Council, Kambia District Council, Kenema Kambia District Council, and Pujaun District Council. And even when I'm in charge of Economic Development Planning Committee, we still go on oversight. Whenever we have our oversight, we interact with those councils to see how those projects are going on. Well, coming from the NGO world, you have this issue of monthly report or 2 weekly report. So we already have this leadership in us. So going extra mile as a member of parliament representing more than 60,000 people or a whole district and under more or less a very strict leader like Honorable Sir Emerson Lamina, you have to go beyond the expectation of, in fact, even parliament. And what was very unique after that engagement, when we came back, we discussed with SLRA because we went together with SLRA and we share our resolutions with SLRA. They gave us something like 3 engineers. They were with us for 5 days. And we decided to do more reports, meaning we gave 1 report to NAO, we gave 1 report to the Minister of Planning and Economic Development for the ministry, and we engaged the EU ambassador. We also presented one report to the EU ambassador with our resolution that these are the time frame we have discussed with CSC, and we need these roads. And proudly, I will sit here and say we are enjoying the Mabam, the Roberry Bridge, because I passed there to go to my district.
Before July comes in, so you proudly say you performed your function.
Absolutely.
You did oversight to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
You'll say that.
Absolutely.
And you, generally, do you think Parliament itself generally did well with oversight function?
What I want to say, this has to do with each and every membership or leadership in each committee. I'm a member of the Water Resources Committee because water is my background. When I was in the NGO world, 10 years, I was just doing water, right? I am part of the Labour Committee, but the chairman of the Labour Committee, it's just like the speaker. He has the final decision when it comes to oversight, when it comes to activity around oversight. What I would say, under my leader, Honorable Masin Lamina, we have played our best to make sure we represent our mantra, nation first.
Okay.
So I would proudly tell you that my last 5 years in Parliament, I have laid more than 4 reports in my Economic Development Planning Committee and in Local Government committee as chairman.
Okay, over to Honorable Abdul Karim Kamala. You've listened to Honorable Tawa Conte, and you were smiling while he was speaking. So you can't get me; you're a little bit far away from me. So at this point, earlier I asked you personally if you feel satisfied. Now, as a whole, as one of the main opposition political parties in Sierra Leone, as a party, do you feel satisfied again with some of these oversight committees that he clearly made mention that, of course, some of your colleagues rather are heading?
It's rather unfortunate. One of the things we need to build on as young people is not just the reality of facts, but when we come out to speak on issues of national concerns that have to build our nation, sincerities of a high essence. When we are the force, in fact, the issue of debating the audit report has not been, the motion has not been moved once. In fact, we've had up to 3 times it has been moved. And the recent of last year was moved by Hon Chericoco and was seconded by Hon Conte. The records are there. When Hon Tawa moved the first motion in the world, is here telling the world that the motion was seconded by Cole. Little is he is failing to realize that he moved the motion. I second the motion before Honorable by Cole put on the mic to raise his voice on it, and it was himself and the studio at AYF. We came here to discuss the issue of the audit service report to be debated. Himself and I was here with him. We moved the motion and we went almost to many other stations with him. But when I was talking, it sounds my voice from a political lens. No, I am being factual, and I am talking on moral grounds. That what he wants to see in Parliament is not what we saw in the last 5 years. If he says contrary, meaning his first move going out in the media to speak on issues around Parliament were personally motivated and not nationalistic. But let me come to the point. It talks about the strength of committees. When committees are being chaired, they're being chaired on strength. Let Honorable Tawa give me one example of a committee that is being chaired on strength. Maybe what he is saying is, what the standing orders ought to say is, committees, members of a committee, if we are going to go into a committee 16, every political party should be represented as their percentage in the world of Parliament. Meaning in almost all committees, by the 2018 we entered Parliament, we were supposed to have more numbers in every committee compared to the numbers that we are supposed to have. And we are supposed to add more committees compared to the number of committees that we are supposed to add. But that was not the case. But let me go to issues. I don't want to drag this all-important national debate to an APC and SLP debate. I ought to have a debate here in which we tell the people what we ought to see. And surely, I am sure it will make it to the 6th Parliament, just like I will. And we tell the people what kind of Parliament they want to see in that next Parliament, what was wrong in this Parliament, and what we want to see, and what we want people to expect from us. When Honorable Musa Fofana was talking about what he has achieved, I bet him that all of what he said here has never been laid in the well of parliament. What you use as members of parliament are personal lobbying skills. You understand? When we go around people to get what we want to happen is different from what you presented in the well of parliament. Yes, Honorable Tower was highlighting, and skillfully what he has done is he tried to highlight committees that are headed by opposition that did not laid reports in the well. I want to say to him that if we're going to look at some of the challenges of oversight, one thing he ought to have said here clearly that has also been a militating factor is most times, like for us in opposition, when you call ministers, they will not even come. He knows of the situation of Abdukagbo and the Minister of Youth Affairs. He is well aware of that. He knows of the issues of Laemara and that of Sengepo. He knows of them. But again, even within them, in the opposition bench, most of the ministers are also party functionaries. The case of Kekua Vandi and the Minister of Energy. Kekua is a member of parliament in the south, and the Minister of Energy is the regional chairman, the southern region. How do you call that person to come to account for anything? So the situation is very, very tight. You talk about resources. Even when the resources were increased, what he was calculating was just what was supposed to be given to members of parliament. We move with journalists who are also part of the team. And it's out of what we have that we have to augment them. They are human beings. We have to buy fuel out of this. So even the resources allocation were not just minimal, but they were not good for purpose. And if you go on oversight, 80% of all the reports he's saying, even those that were tabled, were only tabled, but were not allocated dates for debates. So for me, the entire thing about oversight, if I'm going to rate it, 10% will even be a very good mark.
But the Honorable Tawa is saying he singled out committees of which members of the opposition APC are heads, right? And he's saying your colleagues have not, who are chairmen of these committees, have not presented reports. They've gone on oversight. They've collected resources. They've gone on oversight, right? And they've not presented reports.
You know,
that's the claim he's making.
It is so disingenuous from his own side, because he has been a chairman of almost all committees I have been in.
Are you chair of any of the committees?
I have been a member, a deputy chairman of Youth Affairs. I've been a deputy chairman of local government. Did you present any reports? And that's what I'm saying. I am being very factual here. Yeah, Mr. Barr. When you go to those oversight reports, you do findings. You have committee sittings on many other issues. You have your findings. You do your report. First of all, you have to meet with the ministry in charge to have their own sides of the story. If by the time you do so, we investigated the issue of this car wash. The time I was in the deputy chairman Youth Affairs. After all we went all around this country. We talked with the contractors. We evaluated the project. We saw the lapses in the project. In fact, they were poorly built. Finances that we were given were also mismanaged. We went to the youth in agriculture project. It was badly mismanaged. And we came with those reports to Parliament. And we called on the minister responsible to come and talk to us before we finally do the project. As I am speaking, that minister has never appeared before that committee.
But one could imagine you can still present the reports and say the minister refused to speak to us, but this is our report, these are our findings, and this is what we...
And that's where the trouble is, Lamrana. When you have those reports, first of all, again, the reports go through the parliamentary administration. Like he quoted the Honorable Agriculture Committee. One of the most effective committee he knows that have presented reports in the world is that of Agriculture Committee. But also he has never told us what the Committee on Energy that is headed by Kekua Vandi, they have never laid a report. It is a situation of almost all committees, including the committee he has laid, he is hiding, has never laid a report in the parliament that has been debated. I am talking holistically on parliament. I'm not figuring out what C4C was supposed to do, what NGC was supposed to do in their committee, or what SNPP failed to do. I am saying overall, in terms of oversight, in terms of the reports of oversight, on oversight, none of those reports have been laid in Parliament, and I have called on the Speaker severally to say, even in the with trade, when we had the issue of the dollar was going up and the pricing formula just moving week on weekly basis. We called NRA, we called the Ministry of Finance, we called the traders representation. All of those reports have never been debated. So the situation is not whether it is APC, whether it is SLPP, until as young politicians we are sincere to ourselves and accept responsibility of what we failed to do because the leadership of parliament has not allocated the required time. How many times have we written question tag? I remember when the bus saga came, when the buses came, I wrote to the speaker for us to have a situation of having the Minister of Transport to the well of parliament. As I speak up to date, that question tag has never been brought to the well. Okay. So it is not, I don't want to narrow this debate to what SLP did not do, what APC would have not done. I am saying as members of parliament, we have never debated, we have never presented those reports, they've never been debated, and the speaker and the leadership of parliament has never created time for that.
Thank you very much. Are there clarifications you want to make, please?
Yeah, firstly said, I think the whole world know I'm not a chairman of a committee. The last committee I chaired, I resigned because of the...
You are deputy chairman of lands.
No, let me finish.
Just like myself.
No, let me finish.
Come on.
When you are,
no, accept it. You are a deputy chairman.
Let me finish.
No, you are deputy chairman of lands committee, and I was a member of that committee.
Let me finish.
When you are
speaking, I give you the time. If you can give me the time, I tell you, I am not the person that comes to public. They say who comes to equity must come with clearance. And he knows that in the standing order, there's no provision for deputy chairman. So the committee is as good as the chairman. The Honorable Fofana make mention of it. The standing order gives the chairman the power, the sole power to sit and lead the committee in the status of the speaker. That is why the same provision in the standing order, SO 42, that guides the speaker's decision to be final, it is the same provision that guides the chairman in committee. So I'm not the chairman of any committee. The only committee I've chaired for 6 months is the Committee on Environment, and we presented a report. And that report, I have already highlighted the outcome of that report. The Committee on Transparency, I lasted for less than a month. It's a public secret. And after that period, I was moved 4 times around Parliament. I was moved from my seat to the next seat on the same row. The other week, I was moved to the seat at the back, and later I found myself right in front.
So was that just because you wanted to be transparent and accountable?
As members of parliament, we are representing people. Section 97 says we are representing not only our constituency, but the people of Sierra Leone. And if we are to represent them, we have to come out in public and be honest, and be factual. This conversation is not narrowed down to political parties. It is saying that the inefficiency of oversight is purely the responsibilities of members of parliament and the leadership of parliament if there are any inefficiency, because the standing order makes provision, the constitution makes provision that before committees are announced for the succeeding session, there must be a report. Whatever comes out of the report must be tabled. But the leadership of parliament is not partisan, it's not one party driven. It is total representation of all the parties. So if they as leaders, they sit before announcing committees, names of members of parliament to head committees does not come from the sky. It comes from the leadership of the various political parties. So if a member is heading a committee, whether it's the Committee on Transport, whether it's the Committee on Water Resources, whether it's the Committee on Energy, if that member has not presented a report, then it behoves leadership to know that this person does not have what it takes to lead a committee. He should be removed, somebody should replace him, and he must produce a report. Because at the end of the day, whether the amount that we receive is small, big, or fit to do the job, at the end of the day, we are receiving taxpayers' money. For whatever quantum it is, we have to show up. So what I'm saying is that in all of what he has said, I did not finger point these committees because they are in the opposition. There are committees in the government bench as well that have not presented a report. I have not seen a report from the Committee on Trade. I would have to say I have not seen a report from the Committee on Trade. I have not seen a report from the Committee on Finance. So it's not as if I'm finger pointing because this one, agriculture, I'm a member of the Agriculture Committee and we have never presented a report.
Okay.
And that's the fact. But the point is, if we are to run committees, I have not seen a report from the Committee on Works. I have not. I don't know. But at the end of the day, these are critical committees. And he said something that we have to hammer home. We have less than 2 weeks. We cannot change that now. But that is something that we have to drive home in the next parliament. When reports are presented, it behoves the leadership. We must
so
not
are you declaring now of going to the next parliament?
Oh, I'm coming. I'm coming.
We need to take a few messages quickly. We need to take a few messages as we round up. This is a discussion that will definitely continue. It's part of assessing parliament in the last 5 years. So on Wake Up Leone and different programs, we'll be having you members of parliament to come and talk about your functions, you know, representing your people and oversight and all of it. So let's take a few messages. I have this one from TJ Mans, and it says, Honorable Musa, how do you feel about the backfiring of the Parliament Act 2023, which you piloted? Another, and he's saying also, Honorable AKK, how comes your committee has not tabled a report as opined by Honorable Tawa? I think he has responded to that. And the final one is, Honorable Tawa, don't you think you're being economical with the truth on the lack of debate on the Aegis report? That's the message I'll take. Do you have another one?
No, I don't.
Okay, let's go to Honorable Tawa, Honorable Fofana, Honorable AKK. Then we'll
on the Aegis report, I have said it, I will say it, and I will keep saying it until we get to that point wherein we observe the dictate of subsection 5 of section 119. He said he was the one that seconded the motion. I beg to differ. That is in the record. It was signed. It was a signed motion submitted to the leadership of parliament, submitted through the office of the clerk. I signed, and the Honorable Baiku
we'll check
signed.
the answer.
The answer can prove that. And he also said, let me finish. He also said that the second motion that was moved by the leader of the opposition. No, it was moved by the Honorable Dr. Kande Umkela, and it was seconded by the Honorable Whip of the opposition, the Honorable Hassan Sisi. But these are minor, because there are so many things being done. About the facts, about the Aegis report. The Aegis report is a age-old problem. And if we can, as parliament and as a nation, pay attention to that report, I tell you the recovery we will make from that report will be sufficient to do a lot of social activities in this country.
Okay, Honorable Fofana?
Yeah, thank you very much. My colleague was talking about reports being laid and reports being debated.
The welfare you laid.
I just want to say, yeah, I'm coming to the welfare. I just want to say we have worked very strongly with the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development, as we did with the Ministry of Local Government. And I must say, I am proud to say 2 MPs from this 5th Parliament, Honorable Zainab Tawali and Honorable Fofana, we are members to the EU technical team whenever they are discussing development around Sierra Leone. Is because of our hard work. Coming to the Parliament bill, I have no regret piloting that bill. And in fact, I am still pushing or lobbying with leadership. I want that bill to come back Thursday, because I want to continue to see. I'm a parliamentarian, and at the same time, I'm a businessman. I have been in the NGO world for 10 years, but we have lost 6 parliamentarians this 5th Parliament, and all MPs are still dying.
Sierra Leoneans are dying too.
Of course. The point at issue,
the cost.
Aren't you concerned as well about the Sierra Leoneans who cannot afford?
Of course. We are doing our best to make sure that when the committee go on the whole house, we can ratify. We can fix what we want to fix. And we are doing this bill in the interest of Sierra Leoneans too. Because the MPs are their MPs. This is not my personal opinion.
How about the kids who you see every day on social media, their families begging for them to be treated either at local, nationally here, or be flown out of the country?
As MPs, we are contributing also to the health of our constituents.
Okay.
We are doing a lot. I have 9 social projects in my constituency. I have 6 educational projects in my constituency. Yeah, these are projects we built by ourselves.
Okay, Honorable, we need to round up. These are issues we'll be debating. We'll follow up on you.
We'll come on the welfare,
pushing that.
No problem.
That bill again.
No problem.
Honorable AKK, quickly and finally, you have a question, but I think you answered that already. But quickly, I want to ask generally, as we close, do you hold on your position, hold on to your position that this parliament has not done well with oversight in the last 5 years?
If I am to rate this parliament on oversight, 10% will be the best I give them. And
out of how much? 10 out of 100?
Out of 100, 10.
Okay.
10. If I had 10, I give, because Musa Fofana has said he's done a lot and I have not seen the report. So based on his own testimony,
your report has not come as well.
I have made all my reports. But on a more serious note, if I was Musa Fofana with the welfare bill, I would have dropped that bill and I would have come out open to the people of Sierra Leone to apologize.
No, you should have.
It was a mistake. Let me land.
No, the truth is, they should come out.
Let me land. Can I land?
We'll find time to come and
Gentlemen, please, just give me 5
More than
seconds.
60% of the
Musa Fofana is misrepresenting us as members of parliament on that bill, and I demand him to come out to the public to apologize that such a bill is not timely. In 2018, when we supported that bill to 2019, I still say the foreign exchange rate was far below than what it is now. The wage bill was not where it is now. The cost of living was better off. The wage, the minimum wage was reflectively better than it is now. So I am saying if we are to push that bill, what we first of all need to push is a citizens' welfare bill before we talk about parliamentary welfare bill. It's a shame to talk about you bringing that bill again to the world.
We'll definitely call you guys to come and discuss that bill. But finally, Honorable Fofana, on oversight, he has rated 10 over 100. What will be your own rating?
Well, I must say it has to do with individual leadership and individual responsibility. The leadership of parliament is across party line. I have my leader, Honorable Masin Lamina. Everything we have done from the C4C angle has been under the thorough supervision of our leader. So you can go to the Hansards and see. You can go to EU and find out.
Parliament has done much in oversight?
85% for me, as long as I know, from the Committee on Mines and Mineral Resources, from the Committee
I'm not asking about what you as C4C did. I'm asking generally as Parliament.
I have seen a lot of oversight around other committees.
Okay.
A lot of oversight.
Okay, so
for me, the
fifth
85%.
85%. So Honorable Tawa.
Like he said, he has seen a lot of oversight. I have seen a lot of summoning, but I have not seen reports for those summons. But I think there are other indicators that would come to play in rating parliament in terms of oversight. So I will still hold on to my position that I held on to on Sunday, that I will give parliament 50.
50. Yeah. That's a fair rating for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks very much, gentlemen, honourable members of parliament, for joining us this morning. Like I mentioned, we'll be calling on you to come and talk to your people, the people who voted for you, as parliament will be closing on the 25th, right? So we're doing these sessions and these programs in our different programs as well to discuss oversight and the other functions as members of parliament in our programs. Well, thanks very much for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure having you guys.
Thank you.